Anger is an extremely important emotion that I feel is often misunderstood. On the one hand, some people say that anger is unnecessary and that we should just move past any feelings of frustration or anger and move into more loving, positive emotions such as compassion, love, gratitude, etc. And I think it's important to understand what people are saying here, because yes, it's important to bring ourselves back to a state of compassion if we're being overly negative or we're getting caught in the mind. Bringing ourselves back to gratitude and all these things can help, but we have to be careful that we're not bypassing anger. And this is different to frustration. I feel like frustration is just the bubbling up of the deeper anger. And if we just keep focusing on the frustration and the annoyance and we stay in these emotions, that can be a bit toxic because we're just in this cycle of frustration and annoyed and everything's pissing us off. And you might know people that are like this and they might not be very nice to be around. And I don't think that's very healthy to be in that state because you're perpetuating this victim mentality. But what I do think is important is to move below the frustration and the annoyance and see what's deeper. So there's usually a deeper emotion of anger. From my own experience, that's what lies often beneath this. And below the anger, there could be something else. There could be sadness, there could be grief, there could be other emotions even deeper. And again, some people say you don't need anger, just go straight to the grief. But I think there's a really important function of anger that if we just bypass it, we're going to miss out on connecting to our power and our ability to create boundaries and our ability to stand up for what we believe in, our ability to protect. So anger, it's often associated with the archetype of the warrior. And particularly for men, I think it's really important to connect to this archetype. I work mainly with men, and I've seen people who are not connected to their anger can have quite weak boundaries. Personally, that was me. I always thought anger was a negative emotion and there was no need for anger. I was all about going into my heart, focusing on love and compassion. But I suppose people tended to walk all over me, or people tended to influence me in ways I didn't want to be influenced because I didn't have that assertive boundary that comes with tapping into this emotion of anger. Now, I'm not saying that you're supposed to be going around angry all the time, but there's something that happens in your energy when you allow yourself to go into that deep anger and that rage and connect to that power, because it is quite a powerful force. And that's one of the reasons in society that we're afraid of this force. I also work part-time with men who are domestically violent. And I've seen from working with these men that rage or that anger often comes out unconsciously when an old wound is triggered from their childhood, or it could be, something that used to happen to them by their father. Maybe they were beaten up by their father. Maybe they were put down by their mother. And when these old wounds are triggered, they bypass all actually feeling this upset. They bypass feeling the anger, and they keep going up into just rage, which is like uncontrollable rage. And they like flip in a second. And a lot of them actually lose consciousness in those few moments. And I've also experienced this myself. Tapping into this anger, it can go into rage where you do lose some sort of conscious awareness because of the surge of energy and this power, this primal power that we're tapping into. So it is something that is important that we do in a safe space if we're going to be moving into the anger and moving into that rage. And a lot of the men's work out there at the moment would look at this as an important part of stepping into manhood, is tapping into your anger. And I think it's important to talk about because it can be forgotten about as an important step on your journey of connecting to your true self and all aspects of yourself. And yeah, for me, I think it's a really important step for young men to start to look at this emotion and look at this energy as an important energy to tap into and to be able to harness when needs be, and to also be able to control it. So because I've done quite a lot of work over the last number of years connecting to this kind of, I'm pointing down here to my stomach because that's where the anger tends to exist, around the solar plexus, around the belly area. And that's where that power comes from, that area. And over the years, from connecting to this power, I've also been able to now learn how to like harness that energy and move that energy in the direction I want to move it. So if it does come up in me and I feel I'm in a safe space to release that, I can release it and not hurt anyone else, because I'm becoming more conscious now of when it's happening. So the main point, I suppose, is just to not vilify anger and to not just say, oh no, that's no good, we need to just bypass that and go straight to love and compassion and gratitude and it's all sunshine and rainbows, which most of us know is not true. I think the more we connect to these kind of, more difficult emotions, the more we feel comfortable in ourselves, because we're not hiding from these heavier or denser emotions. We're not afraid of our own anger. And I think that's a big thing. For years, I think I was afraid of my anger. I was afraid of hurting people. I was afraid of the power of it, I suppose. And that can be felt by others if you're, hiding something or you're afraid of something. It doesn't make other people feel safe around you. So the more I've tapped into my anger, the more I've noticed, especially females, feeling more safe in a space that I'm holding, whether it's a breath work or even just in my presence. They feel a sense of safety because I'm in touch with that part of me, so I'm not afraid of it or I'm not hiding it. So yeah, I think that's a topic I'm very passionate about, is speaking about this, because for years I was disempowered in some way because I wasn't tapped into this. And the heart is amazing, and I think we need to be connected to our hearts, but we also need to be connected to our power. And then there's that beautiful balance of when we're in our hearts, we can use our power for good. Again, the fear from the past is that power was used for evil things or bad things. And that can happen. It's just an energy. Any energy can be used for good or bad things. So in order to temper that and balance that, we need to connect to our hearts as well as our power. And then we become a force for good in the world. So yeah, that's just my little insight for today. And if anyone is watching and would like to share their own insights on this, I'm not saying this is the truth. This is just my experience and what I've discovered on my path. And I do speak a little bit about it in my book, my latest book, Craft Your Character, the green one. And I speak about some of my own journey with anger and the importance of it. So yeah, I would love to hear your comments and feedback. And yeah, we'll see you soon.